How is it to work in a restaurant in America, right? So on this video, you're gonna talk about the restaurants that I work and things I learned. I spent 10 years in restaurants and I dealt with all kinds of people from all walks of life and why you might need to get high to get the job done. So I started working in restaurants back in 2014. I moved to America and I arrived here on a Wednesday. On a Friday, I got a job in a restaurant, and I started immediately working that Friday. And I've been exposed to a world that I never thought about it, It's very fast paced. You're dealing with people from all walks of life. You're dealing from the guy with the Ferrari, from the guy with the fucking Honda Civic, who treats you like shit. It's very interesting to see the change in your mind when you present yourself with a uniform and people assume that you are a certain type of people. It's very interesting. And one thing that is even more interesting is the fact that a restaurant resembles like human nature, like a military operation kind of thing, let's say, because you don't really know what's gonna happen. You just have a plan for it and a way of acting, and anything that can happen will happen, and you got to deal with it, right? And I think one of the most important things is the fact that we deal with managers, because you got to understand, like restaurant, usually a person that is a manager or an owner, they've been through the trenches before. Same example as in the military, like someone just reaches a higher rank when they've been through a lower rank before, right? So that happens in restaurants. So if you're dealing with a manager that got fucking shit on when he was coming up, guess what? He's gonna be that one who shits on everybody. And one thing that was most interesting is like the guy that is the owner of the restaurant, whoever is on the leadership, like the top, that same character will transfer to all the other layers. That's basically what 10 years of restaurant, like a corporation, works like that. I've worked in corporate restaurants and I work in family restaurants, but they all have the same, pattern. They resembles the person on top. One of the most disturbing things is like when you need something from these people that are not involves, you bowing to them all the way. It's very crucifixial on the, way that you see yourself manipulating and asking things. That's why I started getting high. So I started smoking weed because the pressure of it wasn't great for my mind. So I started like dabbling with cannabis as I got introduced by my coworkers, and I started like really seeing the potential of helping me dealing with the situations. Because if I need a day off on a Saturday, if you work in restaurants, you're gonna know this, it's nightmare. You gotta come up with some really necessary thing to do, man. Someone have to have died for them to let you go. So if it's not that scenario, you gotta be either a kiss-ass guy, which I was never capable of, and I always was in trouble for that. So I always needed that, escape. And it got to a point where you're dealing with a lot of politics. You're dealing with the manager's mood during a piss off mood someday. And then you're dealing with the customer who is like, I'm paying, you should treat me right. And then you're dealing with the kitchen, and then you're dealing with the bar. You gotta come by and then, just put this all together for you. So that's why it's highly stressful, but you learn how to control yourself under stress, which is very crucial in your life. That's when people who've been through the trenches, they know how to respond quickly to things that happen. And I think it's very, pressurizing in the mind, because it makes you wonder about a lot of stuff at the same time. And a lot of times you think you're not gonna make it, you know what I mean? I spent 10 years in restaurants, and all those 10 years, man, all the time I thought I was gonna get fired. All of a sudden, like it was a week or two that was like, all right, I got my job right. But all of a sudden, like, all right, if I fuck this up, I'm fired. That was a constantly thought in my mind. That was like I started dabbling on cannabis. Then I moved to alcohol, got like alcoholic, became an alcoholic for a while. And then I recovered. Now I'm a better person. I did psychedelics, went through a healing journey, and now that's where I am. Trying to achieve the dream. But that's restaurants, man. You're gonna feel like shit. You're gonna push through it. And you're gonna become the gladiator of modern times, because a lot of people don't know, bro. Sometimes I was dropping a Diet Coke for a fat guy, and I was like, you don't know what I went through to get that Diet Coke. But that's it for the video today, guys. You know, working in a restaurant is very enlightening. You do meet everybody from top to the down bottom of society, and then especially if you're in Orlando, which is a pot of boiling fucking hell, you're gonna get those, you know, juice up fucking customers, you know. So I will talk about it more later, but that was it for today. Keep posted. I'll see you next time.